Live everywhere. X, YouTube, Facebook. Well, we're connecting to Facebook. Facebook has their own little game that they play, but we are live officially, and it's time to roll.
What's up, Pat? How you doing this morning?
Dude, I'm doing awesome. Had a great Christmas break with the kids. My kids get 3 weeks off. How many weeks do your kids get?
It was pretty endless.
It was
And
pretty
then they get
endless.
Friday off this week, so I think it was close to about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks.
and like going into Christmas and after Christmas, going into the new year, our agency, all we were doing was pumping out ads for people. Holiday ads, New Year's ads, this sale, that sale, this thing's coming up in January. And so, like you said, I mean, it was non-stop on our end. But the last week, New Year, and the last few days, we had an unbelievable time together here at the house. It was really, really fun to have the kids home. So, with
That's
that
awesome.
being said, lots of stuff happening. The Golden Globes were last night. I believe Nikki Glazer was the host, and I guess people think she's funny, so she's going to keep on getting gigs.
I did watch that for a few minutes, and I did see one of the winners that yeah, there's it was interesting to watch for a few minutes there.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what the viewership even is on those award shows, because I think that those celebrities are so out of touch with normal working class Americans that people have disconnected from those award shows.
I mean, look, it's art in its own form and fashion. I just to throw it out there, Baby Reindeer won an award. Did you watch Baby Reindeer or even see any of
I
it?
have no idea even what it is. Is it about a
All right,
reindeer?
let's leave it at that. But just put it that way. That
Never even
movie
heard
got
of it.
Oh yeah. If you want to get a little bit of a gist as to why I'm like, that got an award, definitely watch the first couple episodes. You'll be like, really?
So
That got
it
an award?
so it was a show, not a movie? Is
It
the
was like
Golden
a net
Globes shows and then the
it was
Academy Awards is movies? How does that even work?
it was like a Netflix movie show type thing, number of episodes based on this guy's like real life circumstance of being a down and out bartender with a stalker. It's just but the show got really weird really fast. Long story short, it got a Golden Globe. How this happens, just makes you it just throws a little judgment on everything that's associated with it. But all good, man, to each his own, right?
Well, I mean, hey, a win is a win. You can't take a win away from somebody. So, hey, we'll
Hey,
give it to him. Never heard of it. Probably will never watch it. Could care less. But hey, good for them. Glad you guys won an award. We'll
a
see.
win's a win,
We'll see where
views
they
are
go.
views, and that gets into a lot of what we're going to talk about because the topic
Yeah.
here is about marketing. Marketing's all about impressions, getting in front of your audience, the right audience,
Mm-hmm.
because it seems there is a right audience for just about anything and everything out there. So, it's that's where the mainstream's having its challenges and its issues, which is going to bring us to some of our topics for today. You want me to dive right in?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Cool. So some of the topics we'll talk about media virility, just like an analysis looking back at the political season, how, impressions are measured on TikTok, some of the major influencers on there. We got to talk about MrBeast. We touched on him a little bit, I think, last week, but just looking a little bit more into the numbers of just he is the media beast at the moment, and you got to
Mm.
study what he's doing. And then looking at media by market cap. I mean, looking at from the $1 trillion club, there's three companies up there in the $1 trillion range that have media, media arms essentially. And then you have, Clear Channel, which is under $1 billion organization, which still gets a lot of spends because of the, ownership of radio. It's called iHeartMedia these days, not even Clear Channel. So, it's rebranding, reprint of their creation and what they
Mm-hmm.
got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a
I
lot going
heart.
on. I heart, take it to the heart, baby. You know, there's a lot of things going on in media, man. Going into 2025, being a marketer and an advertiser. Yeah, it's really true understanding of the avatar and starting to, get out there and start to test creative and get in front of the media, get in front of where the eyes are. So that really takes me to the crux of the topic here. Looking at the political season, some of the leaders on virility on TikTok, essentially by the numbers, were MSNBC number one, Fox News, then the Charlie Kirk show, which is a Republican independent show, CNN, and it just dwindles from there. But when you look at some of these organizations from a broadcast perspective versus the numbers that they're seeing via social media, it makes you start to wonder, like, broadcast is where they get the media dollars, where they get the advertisers, but how are they going to carry that over to where the audiences are really engaging by the metrics, by the numbers? MSNBC had about 1.2 million viewers, but on TikTok, they had over 750 million views on their content, approaching almost a billion views.
Which
Fox
just shows
News,
everything I've been saying for 10 years, that if you aren't posting short form content on every social media channel, no one's going to see you. Even if you're MSNBC or CNN or Fox News, I will never, ever turn on the TV and watch anything from CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News. Number one, it's usually super one-sided. CNN and MSNBC completely far left, and Fox News way to the right. It doesn't appeal to anybody in the middle. This is why no one watches those broadcasts. They go for the clips. If you're not recording and broadcasting in long form, just like we're doing, and then cutting it up into clips, you are losing market share. You are losing attention. And these people know it because no one watches it. No one's going to stay up late at night and watch Rachel Maddow. She's been wrong about everything. She's an idiot.
Well, to look at the numbers, like Fox News definitely, if you look at the broadcast numbers, they're the leader, 2.38 million
by far,
views.
They're a better broadcasting company than the other two.
Well, the reality is the audience is not split. There's only one network out there that's representing the Republican Party right now, which is half the nation. Country, the U.S. is basically evenly split.
It is.
But Fox News is the only one that takes the right position. So when they're looking at one media company that's representing the right, and there's three or four representing the left, they're all splitting their audiences. Look, I've represented some of the largest advertisers in media, and they know that literally half of the audience is on one network. So splitting your dollars and resources across these 3 to 4 other networks, it's like, may as well, you can give to charity too. But hey, I mean, look, you'll capture some market share with that, but reality is there's a lot of eyes to be seen, a lot of virility, a lot of dollars and resources that could be pushed towards one network, and you get half of the audience of the country right now.
I've always wondered who owns MSNBC and CNN and some of those other channels. They might as well just make one super channel where you can find all those people. I've always wondered that. I don't know why they do that.
Well, NBC, I believe, is owned by General Electric, NBC Universal, so that's like part of their conglomerate. CNN, part of Turner Network, so TNT, TBS. They're owned by larger entities. The reality is, though, if you ask most consumers or you ask most people, where do you get your news from? Where do you get information and content? A lot of people will say, I get my news from social media. So the old model of being a large conglomerate organization and trying to control the political agenda by broadcasting a half-hour news, an hour of news, and just doing it through these main media networks, the value has diminished tremendously.
Absolutely. And COVID killed these news stations because they lied about everything.
Everybody's got their opinion, but at the same time,
they released a document that said that the news stations lied. A multi-page document. Joe Rogan has talked about it. All the independent broadcasters have talked about it. They lied, and they lost the trust of the public. Plain and simple.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies out there that are starting to, publish that information, and essentially, look, it's
Zach's a really nice guy when he's on a broadcast. I just say it. That's my opinion,
hey,
and you can go look up the documents. But I mean,
Yeah.
same thing with podcasters. Some people might look at what I just said and be like, oh, well, those independent podcasters lie. They falsified this or that. That might be true, too. I mean, the knife cuts both ways, but the public has lost trust in big corporations that tell us how to think, how to live, how to breathe, how to sleep. We're tired of listening to it, and that's why they're getting shut off.
Well, yeah, no, it's very interesting. If you look at Charlie Kirk's show, for example, and guy is 31 years old. He has 100 million people that he's reaching
Yeah, he's
per a
big.
month. And this is via social media, content creation, podcasts, like you name it. He's out there doing it. He's not, he's not even going through one of these main media syndications. He's featured on some of them or interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like he is out there as a true independent out there, just really garnering eyes,
And
garnering what they all want.
he does a great job of this too. He'll go to a college campus because I've seen the guy before. He'll go to a college
Mm.
campus and set up a little booth, and then people will line up and ask him questions. And so they'll generally take the clips of the triggered people because that's what gets views. So he's
Yeah.
almost doing, again, exactly what we're telling people to do. Turn on the camera, record for an hour, record for 2 hours, and take those viral clips and use those. And that's exactly what he's done.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I even, to go back to like some of the social media numbers to look at how these, organizations stack up. When you look at Instagram, CNN's number one with 20.2 million followers, followed by Fox News with 9.5 million followers, then the Charlie Kirk Show with 4.5 million, and then MSNBC with 1.7 million followers. And if you go over to X, Twitter, you have CNN with 63 million followers, Fox News with 25 million, MSNBC with 5 million, and then Charlie Kirk Show with 4.3 million. Yeah, it's interesting to see how they're essentially kind of like scattered there. But these are the political, political data, political numbers. But look, these are where marketers, advertisers, they go for major influence to direct how things, the trajectory of things go forward. And when you're betting on these channels and you're looking at what's going on, there's a lot to be said for those that are out there independently creating content that are really crushing the numbers.
And we've
So,
got Donald Trump saying he's going to allow independent podcasters, independent streamers, and independent journalists inside the White House press room to be able to ask the president questions. This is unheard of when it comes to independent media. And so I think these people that we're talking about are going to have a bigger and bigger and bigger reach and a larger voice over the next 4 years because those questions were reserved, especially over the last 4 years, because they would practically give questions to people and rehearse them and have scripts. They literally only allow the big conglomerate journalists to ask questions. That's all changing over the next 4 years. I think that independent channels, independent YouTubers, independent streamers and podcasters and short form creators will become the voice of America. In fact, it's already happened. It's just that time is catching up.
it's already happened. I mean, look, you definitely have gone through a number of errors as to how how the most powerful office in America has been shifted, right? And if you look at the most recent one, it was social media and podcasts. That's what it was when it came out. That is to like when you do a 2020 hindsight of what won the election
That
or
was the
where the
difference
influence
maker
came
for
from.
sure.
That was the major big difference maker. And these elections are won by a hair. It's not even like they're landslides in a way.
Yeah,
They're
they act like it
definitely.
was such a blowout for Trump. And it was like, if you really go and you look at the numbers, it was pretty close.
Oh, it's pretty close, and it's reaching ears, it's reaching eyes and ears where they're at, what they're doing. It's thinking on your feet and being fast. That's why, some of these specific parties just got knocked out
And
because
one of
they,
the
you
reasons
know,
is because they're and this is why even on this show I'm gonna make sure I say take a stand and people can respond how they want to respond. But one of the things that happened over the last 4 years is people started taking way stronger stances on what they believed, and that was how they voted. They voted with their dollars, and they voted with and they voted just out of being annoyed. And the same thing
Right.
happened in 2016 where Barack Obama was the president for 8 years. It was, you know, it was just people were annoyed. They voted Trump in, and people lost their minds. And then he lost, and now he's back. I think we're going to
Yeah.
see some kickback, of course, from the left media because I mean that's what they do. All they talk about is Trump, and that's why they lost. They have absolutely no plan to do anything but spend taxpayers' money, and then they're wondering how they possibly could have lost. It's like, well, let's look at the results. And that's what
It's
happened.
going to be interesting.
It's
It's going
going
to
to be
be
great.
interesting. It's like Tyson says, you have a game plan till you get punched in
To
the
get
face,
punched
then
in the
everything
face.
shifts and changes. Yeah, it's like the reality is like you look at where everything stands right now, or even like just where media stands, it's totally tossed up in the air. It's going to be an
And you
interesting four
have to be
years.
willing to hack people off to get the views. And again, who did I diss on?
I
Rachel Maddow, right? Like I was kind of giving her some trouble a minute ago. Well, she clearly caught my attention. I'm talking about
Yeah.
her. So, you know what I mean?
Hey.
And so I call it both ways, but she does something that annoys a certain base of viewers.
No, for sure. I
And
mean,
so does
yeah,
the other people. So does, like, I don't know, Megyn Kelly or Sean Hannity or whoever on the other side. So that's their job. Their job is to give one viewer what they want and to hack off the other viewer, because people not liking you is almost as important as people liking you, because the haters are actually louder than the supporters. Negativity is super loud. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this. Like, we need to make positivity louder. And I think that's great for Gary to say that. But at the end of the day, positivity doesn't sell.
I it sells and wins. I mean, look, there's certain
When it
things that
comes to like
positively
news headlines,
sells and
though, is what I'm saying. Like news headlines, those negative
yeah.
hooks, man. I mean, we even teach that inside of our agency. Negative hooks, they catch people's attention. It's sad, but it's true.
No, there's definitely some truth to that. Yeah, but definitely too, it's going to be interesting to see, the White House media room taken over by
That's
independents,
going to be
podcasters, and
crazy, dude. It
it's going to
might
be
be a
great. It's
circus.
gonna hey, look, man, the political sessions, everything about US, media in
Yeah.
general, US political stance is a circus,
We've
right? So,
essentially got
you know,
Barnum and Bailey coming into the warehouse, to the White House
hey
at the end of
man, it was
January.
the best show on earth in my opinion until they got rid of the animals.
Yeah, right? Oh, man.
Uh,
What else we got?
but
What else we got on the hopper?
well, to ride on the Trump name, there's one guy that trumps them all. It's Mr. Beast. I mean,
Oh,
this
yeah.
guy's coming in 26 years old. Absolutely, like if you look at these like Instagram numbers and just like in general, he's got 64.4 million followers
Holy
on Instagram, which
smokes.
crushes all of the media companies. Then when it comes to X, he's got 31.5 million followers, and he essentially has numerous audiences throughout YouTube. And he's got four channels that have over 20 plus million viewers on each. But his main channel has 341
Yeah, I've just pulled
million
it up.
subscribers.
Uh-huh. And he's now got a show on Amazon Prime called Beast Games. I don't know what that is, but he must be hosting some kind of game show thing or something.
Well, he's genius. He's riding on Squid Games. Look, he took Squid Games, which is a Netflix, one of the most popular shows they ever put out, which
Yep.
garnered 265 million views in its
I haven't
first
seen the
90
second
days.
season, but the first season was awesome. I watched the
That
whole
first
thing.
season was
And
awesome.
I
You know,
never
that
watch shows.
in a world where they're making sequels to make sequels, it's one of those shows that's like, should they really have made a sequel? So I haven't yet tuned into the sequel, I'll say. But yeah, definitely, I did watch that first season, and it was great.
Yeah, it was.
But Mr. Beast is riding on it from a perspective of building a reality show based on Squid Games. He's essentially giving away $5 million and essentially has 2,000 people fighting for it on YouTube. And he has garnered 136 million views, 136 million views in 2 weeks thus far. And he's got tons of content out there, where people are, I would say, vying for big purses, but He's looking at the mainstream or looking at, what's out there, what has big production budgets, but we talk about it all the time. He is investing serious production budgets
He is.
from a, social standpoint. He's sparing no expense.
There's something to be said for that. And he kind of created his own niche, too. He kind of took the Jake Paul, Logan Paul thing, mixed it with the reality TV show stuff, and he has become his own thing. And I mean, it's not going anywhere. This guy's young, dude, and it's a huge example too for people that maybe they're in their early 40s or they're in their early 50s and they're thinking, well, I mean, this has all passed me by and this and that. No, dude. I think that a younger audience is looking for more experienced individuals that have real life lessons, real value, and real experience that they can share. And younger folks are moving towards that. I remember when I first kind of moved into this entrepreneur, this like guru space of education and marketing, and like being a niche leader, and everybody I started following was older than me, more experienced than me, and this and that. There's good. I think younger people are looking for those accounts to follow because they know they can get real value and a return on their time by watching that. That's how you earn a follow now. You got to give people a return on their time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 42 years old, been running a successful business for 20 plus years, but the mentors, the people that have like taught me things along the way, or even sat down with me for lunch like once, of like for an hour, changes the trajectory of everything.
Totally.
So when you talk about listening to an influencer or like, a podcast of a great interview, essentially you could spend an hour or two doing that. And the thoughts and the knowledge drop is just could be tremendous and have major influence on where you go from there. I mean, personally, I love to hear stories from, marketers of a different decade or a different generation where they were dominated by traditional media, or the only way to get things out were through, certain main channels of yesteryear. Their stories and their ability to tell stories, story building, which still lives in today's media. Stories is something that, look, I mean, as whether you believe in evolution or not, like people have been telling stories since prehistoric times and writing it on the walls of caves. Like storytelling is the way to move dollars, move resources. I mean,
totally.
Great and that stories sell.
Yeah, that was the first thing when I played that event for Grant Cardone, and I was the lunch break guy with the guitar, and I was playing for $100 a night at bars, and I had never played in a big, huge arena room before, and it was like, hey, come out here and show people what you got. The first thing that people told me when I walked off stage was, dude, the story that you told of how you got this gig was the best part of your 10-minute performance. And I was kind of shocked because I was like, I mean, all I did was kind of introduce who I am and this and that. And they were like, yeah, but every single person in this 10,000 person audience wants to be on that stage. And you figured out a way to do it through video marketing. That right there is what you need to sell, not the guitar. And so I completely changed the trajectory of what my offer was based on what's the marketplace demand. And that's storytelling. People like you or people like Robert Love or this person or that person, Chris Cavallini, telling their story is what people want to hear.
What's amazing is the power of sheer momentum. Look, I do reputation management or brand management for people that might have, gotten into an awkward situation. If you look at MrBeast and you look at his history, there were some awkward situations as he built up. Yeah, there's some
stuff that's happened.
But yeah, his pure momentum and push forward and relentless persistence as just a creator has pushed him to unseen, unheard of levels. I mean, he has said, there is not an advertiser or marketer that could afford the number of impressions he could get a brand. And there's some truth to that.
Totally. I mean, when you can create organic reach, that's worth a lot of money. It was the one thing that worked for me with Grant Cardone. I made a funny song, gave it to Grant. Elena liked it, showed it to her husband. They loved it. They published it. That was the single biggest piece of content I had ever made. And it was because I was willing to give it away to somebody that could help me. And so he said, hey, why don't you come and perform on our stage? And, you know, that value exchange was something that changed the trajectory of my career. So if you're out there, you're singing with the guitar for $100 a night, you're singing Wagon Wheel. I've been there before. I did it for over a decade. Make some original stuff for some creators that can help you. Because if you're too focused on, I got to make $100, I got to make $200, or I got to get paid my hourly wage, and you're not willing to do anything for anyone else outside of that, you're never going to make it. You got to be able to provide value above and beyond the wage that you think you're worth, or that the budget that they're giving you. If you want to increase what you're making, well, then you're going to have to increase your output beyond that.
Definitely.
Most people don't think like that. They're stuck in whatever that shift is, and they only work within that shift because they think, oh, if I'm not getting $10, $20, $30 an hour, it's not worth my time. I should be getting paid. And it's like, well, you have to bring the value first before you get paid, especially if you want to make real cash.
You got to bring the impressions. You got to bring the, and
that's what MrBeast does, dude. That guy could get Fox, or that guy could even get Rachel Maddow views.
Hey, look, that guy can get anybody views. It's just he's got to invite them on to watch, you know, or he got to invite them on to participate.
Come on, Rachel. Come on, Marketing Monday with us one day, Rachel.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's I don't, whatever. It's there's definitely, like we said, MrBeast, dude. He is the beast.
He's way bigger. He is way bigger than people that are provided a studio, provided a time slot, and provided a budget by major conglomerates. It explains everything. That's where it's going.
Well, look, you know, I'm looking up right now, Fox, because I'm going to get on to the next topic here, talking about like market caps and size of companies. I even forgot to look up the size of Fox News and like how big Fox's like market cap is. But because the real truth, when you look at the media companies of today and like who's really controlling the eyes and the viewers, and you measure them by market cap or how Wall Street measures it, there's $1 trillion club. It's 3 companies. It's Amazon, Google, and Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram. And then there's essentially everybody else. And then, you know, going down from there, you have Netflix, then you have Disney, you have Spotify, you have Twitter, then you have Fox News, and then you have iHeartMedia, which doesn't even have $1 billion valuation. I mean, they filed for bankruptcy in 2018. And essentially the radio broadcasting system is here for, you know, emergencies, and the government's going to be making a big bailout to them in the next few years because they're going to have to. But if you look at where the eyes are, where like the, you know, the big money's going, some of the advertisers are really pushing out to get more content or get more eyes and viewers. I mean, look, Amazon controls the way people shop. You know, that those are views, those are impressions. That's where all your CPG dollars are going. Then you have, you know, Google. You know, essentially Google controls YouTube. They control the most powerful search engine in the world. And then you have Facebook and Instagram, which just have so many eyes. I mean, yeah, the number of people on Instagram on a daily basis and Facebook is just absolutely tremendous.
You do a ton of advertising campaigns, not just on YouTube, but on Meta. What do you see when it comes to taking the organic content, taking the shorts, the stuff that we make, and pushing it? What does the cost look like on that end moving forward? It's increasing astronomically, correct?
Look, it's going to continue to increase. It's really just channeling in the audiences, you know, more effectively. Look, there's mainstream media and certain aspects of like regulation that are trying to make it more of a broader market. But the reality is like when advertisers are looking into 2025 and they're trying to get eyes and views, and you want to bet on where the user's going to be, those are some of the mediums that they're going to be on. I mean, look, go observe for yourself. Go get a slice of pizza at the local pizza parlor with a TV on and see what the people in the kitchen are looking at. If they're looking at the TV, or they're looking down at their phones. Go to a sports bar, go out when the NFL is playing Sunday, 1 o'clock. Are people looking at their fantasy sports on their iPhone? Or are they looking up at the screen to see what's playing? Are they looking at the commercial breaks? Like, where are the eyes? What are they viewing? You got to ask yourself as a true, if you're an advertiser and marketer and you're not looking at it as though you're the actual consumer, you're looking at it, I think, backwards.
Totally.
There's
Totally.
there's a lot of ways to look at it.
Well, and I'm even going to go back to doing some of these trend shorts where we take a viral headline and I do a video about it, and I kind of just have been too busy to do those. We've been so busy with just long form, but that's the kind of stuff that always got the most views for me, and so we're going to try that out too. But trending stuff gets hits. And another thing I noticed that gets hits, you're going to laugh at this one, but I'm going to do it, and it's probably going to be good, is people who cook on these platforms. They post their recipes. And there's a couple people, in my opinion, it has to be a joke because they're cooking these recipes and it looks terrible. And so what's happening is there's these guys that do viral reviews of just people cooking food. And there's some of the biggest accounts on Instagram. People jumping over buildings, like these professional stunt jumpers and people who review food. Weirdest two niches, and they're huge right now. And so I'm definitely not going to jump off a building. I don't want to die, but I can definitely review someone's terrible lasagna. So that's on my list. That's on my list.
So there's two items, I'm just keep with MrBeast. Like MrBeast has a MrBeast React station.
See,
absolutely
there you go.
Hilarious.
There you go.
He has these like videos where it's like, I bet you will laugh, like, or I bet you this video will make you smile, and they bet each other on it. It's MrBeast Reacts, and I think that's part of why you see that as such a moving trend. But I had the gift of spending a lot of time with my family over the past few weeks, and was able to engage in like just watching TV with my kids. First off, they got to watch Home Alone, which is the absolute classic. My kids loved it.
Great flick.
But cooking shows, they love cooking shows. And on Netflix, they have tons of cooking shows. It's like they cook food that looks like a specific object. And
it looks like a cake.
The
cake show, right?
It doesn't look like a cake. It actually could look like my coffee mug here.
But they have to guess if it's cake or a real coffee mug, right?
Yes,
yeah, I've seen that one. It's a great show.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, look, it's all cooking, all the creative of like just all the holiday cooking shows. There's just a lot of reality television, man. Mm-hmm. It's what we're of the generation of the MTV Real World that when that was first a controversial thing of like showing real lives on TV, and then you went to Jersey Shore and you get all these like reality shows. But the truth is like major media right now, if you look at what's winning, it's the reach into reality. It's the authenticity. It's the authenticity, it's the integrity of a brand. It's those intangibles that can really come across in social content and social messaging. It's absolutely, it's incredible.
It's great. And the Kardashians and the Real Housewives and all those kinds of things, that was like the next generation of MTV Real World or Road Rules. Remember Road Rules? And then even when it comes to some of our clients, like we have a client, Nutrition Solutions. We've done their stuff for a couple of years, and they do menu tastings every week, and they film the menu tastings. Sometimes it goes great for the chefs, sometimes not so great. But the way that we edit those gives people an insight on the standards that they have for cleanliness, the standards that they have for taste, the production of the food, and this and that. So you get to see them review what's being cooked a couple weeks before that menu gets sent out to the customers. So they're taste testing, and this, the chicken was really dry, but the rice was good, but the presentation, blah, blah, blah. And so it gets a ton of views because Chris is hilarious when it's not good or when it's good. And so you're wondering, what's he going to say? And so, again, that reality format, it works.
Well, it's we do a lot of marketing in the injury law space, and literally the GOAT, the biggest one out there right now, or the feared marketer is Morgan and Morgan. But if you go and you study Yeah, you look at their marketing and advertising, John Morgan is the GOAT, he's the father. But even Mike Morgan has his own social media channel and creative.
Mm,
And he has some real genuine stuff where he was reacting to actual like text messages he gets based on the advertising and marketing that they
right.
do out there. And it made me laugh. It was hilarious. It softens the side of
Hmm.
who they are, regardless of what you hear about them in any market or from other attorneys out there. It softens who they are. But they've also created this effect where they create a lot more awareness for people's rights when it comes to filing a lawsuit. So they literally have an impact in markets where people get more representation. They don't necessarily squash or take all the market share. They actually create more market share by creating more awareness that people can get legal representation for specific injuries or incidences that do happen. So it's
Hmm.
very interesting as to just getting sheer messaging out there and marketing and creative, how it can impact just the entire economics of an industry.
Yeah, totally, dude. It's unbelievable. And, again, moving forward 2025, um, I mean, we've already seen the first week go by. So what are people going to
Yep.
do second week, third week, fourth week, second month, third month, fourth month? I mean, if you guys don't get anything out of these shows, please get the one thing that is the most important thing, the reason why we do it, and that's we want you to feel confident. We want you to know that your voice deserves to be heard. We want you to know that your product or your service or your vision or your goals or your deadlines, they matter, that you can hit your
Yep.
goals, you can hit your deadlines, you can make your business work with the right marketing, with the right people in your corner, and with these
Look,
systems.
it's the right partners. It's the right, agency owners of the right agencies, the people that are working. Reality is people that are in shop that are actually like, doing things like
Right.
owners like myself and you. We're not absentee owners. It's like we're working, it's that's the reality of what people need. They need people that are working and thinking on their behalf to make their dollars and resources go as far as possible.
Well,
And
and
that's the truth
that's
in
why
bringing
Nikki
value.
Glazer got the gig last night. She's viral online. She's touring all over the world doing comedy bits and comedy shows. She's viral with these roasts, and she's
Yeah.
become a host that is a go-to person. So it's not surprising to me that she gets that gig, and that even me as an MC that I don't. She's got a way bigger brand that's way more monetizable for the Hollywood people, and so she earned the gig. And if people don't like it, well, then go out and do your own comedy shows. Go out and make your own viral bits. I'm not complaining she got the gig. She earned it. And so it's our job over the next 3 or 4 years to become those voices of the future. And so if you want that, you got to hit record, you got to get the microphone going, and you got to put yourself out there. Or those opportunities are going to be somebody else's opportunity every time.
Oh, for sure. For
For
sure.
sure. What else we got on the hopper today?
Man, definitely, it's there's just like I said, digesting and watching media and creative with my kids. Like the last thing I would do is try to take the remote control from them to try to force feed other content on them.
Uh huh.
And they live in Netflix and YouTube. And that's always the next generation. It's just like if you look at where dollars and resources should be driven, it's like, look, there's a lot of advertisers and marketers out there who go, "Oh, I got to film a TV piece. I'm filming this badass 30-second production because I committed to the traditional media company to
Yep.
run a 30-second spot." It's like take those same resources and dollars and put them into a digital creative
Yep.
and blast that digital creative just as you would recklessly in front of, unscathed impressions of an audience that you're just guessing at, just throwing darts at, just because you're hoping it's on the TV somewhere when somebody's doing something and that they might just
Where's the
see
replay
it.
value in that? That's the other thing too. Where's the replay value? Where's the retargeting? Where's the ability to get that person's email address or phone number or fill out a form? It is so much harder, in my opinion, to convert off of a TV than it is off of a mobile phone. I buy
Look,
stuff all the time on this phone. I've bought courses for 37 bucks or this or that or the other just because I liked the ad. And I might get one nugget out of the course that makes it worth it, right? Usually it's worth it. But you
Yeah.
guys got to think, how are you getting those people? And then they're emailing me. They're following up with me. Do you want to buy the $2,000 thing? Do you want to buy the $5,000 thing? Well, no, I thought the thing was good, but now they've got my info. And
Look,
so you've got to think about it.
It creates those impressions and those views. I mean, that's the reality of it. Even if I, like 2020 hindsight, look at like my vacation and everything that we did. And my wife did a beautiful post about like our family vacation. And we went to all these cool places and like, tagged them. Essentially those like interactive engagements or the places that we go to, they actually have like created real resources so that like we can take cool pictures. If you look at the most successful restaurants out there, they have an Instagram wall or they have a social media wall where they want people to take pictures of themselves out, have the brand behind them, and then post it on their social media profiles. Look, there's huge value in traditional media in a lot of ways to get out messages and create it. It's definitely a part of the funnel to building a huge brand. But it's definitely, it's a large landscape out there when it comes to marketing and advertising. But like I said, to go back to it, getting that gift of spending time with my children where like we were just watching content. A lot of it was fed through like YouTube, Netflix. My kids know what Instagram and Facebook are and Amazon. They know what those things are. He doesn't ask me to turn on the NFL game. He doesn't ask me to watch the Dolphins. We're so bad anyway. But, we're not watching that or like, down in Miami, our sports teams are just going through, spoiled brat rumbles of Jimmy Butler and Tua and the fans hating it, but these guys still getting paid for doing nothing and losing every week. So we're not engaging in that aspect of it because as a fan, like, it's goes back to, I would say, almost like gladiator era times where it's like if the gladiator is not performing, you can boo a little and not necessarily have to support them. Nobody's telling you to have to do it.
Right.
Throw a rotten tomato, throw an apple. Like that's how people used to do it. That's essentially, I think, what there's no shame in that game, I think, in respect.
So this
of
is
people.
crazy. This is crazy. So we've got more viewers right now live on X than any other platform right now. How about that?
I don't know.
So it shows me X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. We've got more viewers on X than any other platform. So welcome.
Hey, I mean, look,
X friends.
X definitely $44 billion buyout by Elon Musk. He said I was getting a discount on this. He was right. I mean, look, X Twitter was all the content was being filtered. All the all the information people were publishing was literally being filtered out, and it was a huge agenda there. So he has unleashed the filter. He's got more working data and knowledge of how people speak or interact to program his AI based on data and information that's been submitted to Twitter and X for a number of years. And when you look at the influence of X and Twitter, like it influences the messaging of traditional media in a lot of ways, between all the alerts and signals that they have up there. And it's, Twitter, X still rules, man. There's a lot to be said for that.
It's unbelievable. Marketing Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It is beautiful day out there. Freezing cold here in Dallas, Texas. I don't know how cold it is there in Florida. But it is another one in the books. Ladies and gentlemen, joined by Zach Hoffman, Exalts Marketing. I am Pat Hilton with Acoustic Force Media. And listen, folks, get out there. Make yourself known. Get those eyeballs. Get those deals. Follow those dreams. Follow those passions. And bring your vision to life. Zach, any final words?
Reality. Bring your vision to reality. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Get out there and start creating.
It's the only way. Rock and roll. Ladies and gentlemen, sure. Zach Hoffman, Pat Hilton coming at you live. We will see you
Thank you
on the next one.